Okay, let's just make sure the sound is working correctly. It looks like it is. Just do a quick check of surfaces. That's working. Check inside the airplane. That's working. Yep, flaps are working. Awesome. So let's go and set up the live stream. Save. Just putting the live stream up on a laptop so I can follow along. Okay. Let's go and check the volume levels in Windows as well. So you should be able to hear the simulator, but you can't, can you? Ah, there we go, it's working now. Strange. Okay, so does that mean... you can hear it, good. Okay, should we go and get this thing in the air? So we are going to have a look at Eastport Municipal. So wind is from the east 11 knots, so we'll be taking off runway 15, so we'll taxi out. It's 4,000 foot runway. It's arguable whether we'll actually need... We could do an intersection takeoff because the Cessna doesn't need much room at all to take off. So Tony is asking where we are. We're not. We're on the east coast of the US. So we're starting at Eastport up in Maine. We're going to work our way down the coast to Rhode Island. So it's about 370 miles all in all. So we'll be airport hopping all the way down the coast. Okay, so let's go and get the airplane started, shall we? Or should we put some fuel in? Might be a good idea before we do anything. We're not going to need a passenger. And we are going to... 80% fuel will be good. Okay. Just checking levers and switches are in the right places. They are. So battery goes on, nav light and beacon can go on, mixture goes to rich, crack the throttle open, make sure the parking brake is on, and we have an engine. So we'll pull the RPM up to 1000 RPM just to warm the oil up, although it seems to warm up incredibly quickly in this. You can see that needle moving while we look at it. Okay, so taxi light goes to on, the avionics or radio master switch can come on. So Robinson's saying yes, it is a long flight. I'm testing the plane out really. So we've got a different colour scheme today. We've got one with a paler inside. It's got the red worn leather on the outside. It's a bit more of a traditional colour scheme. Okay, so GPS is just coming up. I have filed the flight plan through the simulator menu, so we should get it programmed in, because obviously I didn't want to program all of those airfields in. Hooray, we have the magenta line. So It's a shame we don't have the 430 as well, so we can have both displays. We'll have to, I guess the easy way to do that is just to put this on. So you can see you've got the direction of the track, which should correspond, yeah, with 254 degrees, which we've got on LittleNavMap. We've also doubled it up with Navigraph, so we can see it here as well. So we're going down to Machias Valley for the first. Just having a quick look at the live stream chat. How does the RG compare to the other 182? It's much better. But then obviously it's folding in a lot more knowledge of their development, because the other 182 came out very early, although it has been updated. Okay. So, just trying to remember where we go. Just... Okay, why can't I... Oh, helps if you use the right keyboard keys. We turn right out of here then to get to the runway. And then left to take off. Or we backtrack. I think I might actually backtrack just to be safe. So... a fair bit of wind today. There's about 10 knots crosswind on this takeoff, which is not going to be fun. It's trying to push the tail round now. I'm having to hold quite strongly to the right to keep it on the taxiway. So let's go and backtrack down the runway. So apologies for not keeping up to date with the live stream chat. I'm kind of concentrating at the moment. As soon as we get on autopilot, I'll go and see what everybody's talking about. Okay. So landing light can come on. Pitot heat can come on. Oh, I didn't do the alternator. I completely missed it. Calibrate the altimeter. I really do need to write up some proper checklists just to, you know, reinforce things really. And we're going to set the altitude target to, we're already at about 50 feet above sea level, so we're right on the coast. You'll see the coast in a moment as soon as I take off. Okay, as I said, I'm going to fight this crosswind, so going live weather today, live time. So it's 10:30 in the morning. Okay, so taxi light can come off, and the RG can retract its gear. So shall we do a quick loop around the airfield where we've just taken off from to go and have a look at it. Now we've taken off also, we can lift the cowl flaps, or close them I should say. So it just closes these flaps underneath the engine here. Let's pull back the RPM a little bit. Bit more. There we go. Okay, so there's the airfield we've just taken off from, and let's go and have a look at where we're going. So we're going to turn left to 254 degrees. So straighten up. Just coming up to 2,000 feet. Should be fine. And we wanted 254, didn't we? Which is about there. So we'll get the autopilot on. Go for heading mode. It should. We're at 1500 and descending at the moment, so let's go and arm that and tell it to climb. Yeah, look, it's really descending quickly actually. I didn't trim it, that's why. Okay, so our first leg is going to take us 23 miles down the coast to Machias Valley. And we may end up doing some instrument flight by the look of it, because the weather is not great. But we can use a GPS to do that, obviously. So if we turn the heading bug to 240 degrees, we'll intercept the line. And if we send the course to 253, and that's obviously replicating what we've got programmed into the GPS, so it gives us some visual indication of what's going on, as well as this, of course. Hopefully the weather's not going to be bad all the way down the coast. End up cloud dodging on the way out. So we've got 16 miles to go, and we are travelling at just about 133 indicated knots. So does this? Yeah, this gives us ground speed. Like, we're doing 150 knots over the ground. It's very cool. I don't think there are many VORs around here, otherwise we could use them. one over here. There's Vortex though, isn't it? Yeah. Bangor. Should we see if we can tune it in anyway? 11480. I've not actually tried tuning in a Vortex station. So 11480. And yeah, it's picked it up. Bangor. So we stay on heading mode. We can switch the CDI mode over to VLOC, and that should give us famous last words. Yeah, it's not going to do it, look. Although, what is the actual range of Bangor? Let's have a look. 130 miles, so it should be working, because we're only 70 miles away from it. I'm just wondering, looking at this needle, it's the needle's not working. Anyway, we'll go back to GPS. How many miles out are we? 10 miles. So this could make the landing, or sorry, the touch and go, it could make it quite difficult. We'll wait and see. So just having a look on the map here. So if we go and click on this airport, open the airport. So this is Machias Valley, and the weather for the area is 060 degrees, 6 knots. There's a runway 18 and a runway 36. We can get a look at the airport chart here using Navigraph. So wind is going to be a crosswind basically, but it favours runway 18 more than 36 because it's coming in from 60 degrees. But I was saying that if it continues to be this bad visibility as we get nearer the airfield, we may elect not to do the touch and go and to carry on to the next one. I mean, we could drop down to, let's have a look. So airfield elevation, information on the airport, 96 feet. So if we came down to 1100 feet, it's pretty average. It's pretty flat scenery, sorry, around here. So arm that, we'll come down to 500 feet a minute then to 1100 feet. We're 6 miles out. And we're going to come off the throttle and slow down. Not fancying our chances at the moment. Although saying that, the cloud is clearing a little bit as we get lower. So we might be alright. It's famous last words, isn't it? I put, actually, while we're doing this, I'm just going to go and change the server I'm on to East USA. Close, resume, and hopefully we'll see some aeroplanes around in the sky. Right, we can see a beacon flashing away out in the distance. So what we're going to do is turn to 360, wasn't it? So we're turning this way, then we'll turn 270, and then we'll turn 180. So giving ourselves every chance here to come down safely. Okay, so we're going to also bring this down to 600 feet. We'll do it really slowly. Come off the throttle further. Yeah, so just below the haze, it's absolutely fine. Yeah, I can see on the clock I'm on live time, so it is, yeah, just gone 10:30 in the morning, and there is this fog going on. So you can see here, we are just coming across, and then we're going to turn left into the airfield. So, turning left again. So we should. This hill is quite dangerous. We may have to stop that descent because of this hill. There's the beacon. So I'm going to come off the autopilot. Obviously we turned in a bit early there, but it was all guesstimation. Plus the klaxon for reducing the throttle too much. So we can now drop gear, so we can see that happen. It's like spider legs coming out, isn't it? Drop the flaps. So remember, we got that wind coming in from the left hand side. Plane's pitching around quite a lot. It's affected a lot by wind. Whoa, there's a sudden gust then, really pushed us sideways. I am absolutely having to fight this tooth and nail. I can't get the plane to turn across the wind. Crosswind is just too strong for it. You can see probably if I do this. Yeah, look at me being blown sideways. Well, that's full rudder deflection. And it's just about holding it straight. That was quite scary. Okay, next leg. So we're just climbing away from here. So if we zoom out, we're 290 degrees over to the next part of the journey. So if we look here, we're going to do a right turn. .270, 280, 290 degrees. We get up above this cloud this time. go for 5,000 feet. See how that does. So arm it. So we have to go to autopilot on first, don't we? So heading mode, then arm vertical speed, and go 1,000 feet a minute. How are we doing on manifold pressure? We're right at the top end of the range, but we're good. So we're going to turn across the course a little bit. So the actual course we wanted is 290, so we'll reflect that with the course marker here, but we're going to turn across it just to get back on track. So we could do that at a much stronger angle. Obviously, people that know Flight Simulator Bar would know we could just go and press nav mode, but that leaves us nothing to do. So it's coming up to 2,500 feet to get above the cloud. Got about 10 minutes until we get to the next destination, 20 miles away. Obviously, once we stop climbing, we'll go a lot faster. So yeah, just on whoever was on about the gear, let's just go and have a look at that again. So it's remarkable how rudimentary it is. All it is, if you look very closely, is an off-axis hinge. So when you animate the gear, yeah, you can see the axis a lot more clearly there. It's a very, very simple mechanism. Okay, how are we doing on? We're getting a bit slow, so I'm going to push on with the throttle. Push up to the end of the manifold pressure there. And lower the climb rate. We can pull the mixture back as well, which will help us. It's gone above 3,000 feet now. And we'll lower that climb rate down to 500 feet a minute, and you'll see the indicated airspeed start to build up. There it goes, it's moving already. So we have overshot the it's a good point actually. This is a good illustration. Should we see what happens if we go nav mode? Will it pull back towards the route? Yes, it will. So I think it will do it in GPS mode, but maybe not in VOR mode. So I think you'd have to be on an intercept course already on a VOR for it to capture. Obviously in GPS it can work it out. So I've been quite amused how many people don't like the red leather, but it's kind of its era. It's kind of, you know, mid to late 70s, I guess. Should we put the yoke back in? Okay. I think it looks quite good. Okay, so let's have a look on LittleNavMap and figure out where we are in the world. So we've just rejoined that track. And we're on our way to, now, is it De Blois? It's just, I know, like Des Moines and places like that, and Boise, Idaho, I never know with American place names if you go with it obviously looks like a French spelling, but it may not be. So if any of the US people watching want to phonetically spell out how we pronounce this airfield that we're coming up to, I'd love to know. Okay, that weather over there doesn't look very inviting, does it? Thankfully we're not going that way, but this way it looks quite... looks like it might break a bit further down the coast. We'll have to wait and see, won't we? So we've got 13 miles to run. We're at 5,000 feet. Doing 132 knots maybe. Should we put FS Realistic on and see if it's been programmed yet to deal with it? Hopefully it has. Let's increase the range on this so we can see the next airport coming. So we've got 15-mile range on this now. So you can see it's just coming in 10 miles to go. 4 minutes until we get there. So we're going to descend back down to 2,000. Actually, before we do that, let's just check the airfield elevation. So 218 feet. So we want to come down to about 1,200 feet. Let's just open the chart for the airport and have a look at it. So there's nothing massively of... I guess we could have a look at the approach chart. That's for, that's for the other direction. That doesn't suit the wind today. Got 20 knot wind, but it's going to be straight down the runway, so we should get away with that. So we'll enter a left pattern to come in onto runway 15. What airport are we heading towards? This one, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but the code is 43 Bravo. If it was in French, it would probably be de Blois. But because it's America, it probably is de Blois, or de Bloisy, or something like that. About to go past Skylake Lake. I doubt we can see it because the visibility is pretty horrible. Although, I don't know, we might see it. Skylake Lake, sorry. It's over there, I think. Or is it closer? Let's see. Yeah, I'm going to peek through the clouds. So we are 5.6 miles out. So we were on about bringing the altitude down, weren't we? So we'll come down to 1,200 feet, 1,300 just to be safe. So we'll arm that. Come down at 1,000 feet a minute. Pull the throttle back. We can probably come down a lot steeper than that, to be honest. Let's see, it'll be interesting to see how quickly we can come down. So yeah, you can descend at 2,000 feet a minute. I've just pulled the throttle back to stop us from accelerating. Although we're right on the edge of accelerating, so probably 1,700 feet a minute is probably going to be more realistic. So we're down to 4,000 and dropping. See the altitude whizzing round. Yeah, Tim Miller is saying that the place names can vary state to state. Okay, so we're overhead the airport at the moment, so our plans to do the circuit are not really working out. So I'm going to come off the autopilot and fly the opposite, or the reciprocal. So we got 330 degrees and then 150, so we'll turn to 330. Descending as we go. We're about 1,000 feet above ground level at the moment, so we'll hold that. Just watching vertical speed here. Unfortunately, we can see the airfield. It's over there, look. So let's start we're quite low. I don't want to get much lower because the visibility is so poor. I don't want to have any surprises, although it's fairly flat land. It's doing quite a steep turn. Yeah, visibility is reducing as we turn. This is quite poor. Debatable whether this would be a safe approach or not. Let's get the gear down. Here comes the rain. We are being thrown all over the place. This wind is no fun at all. At least it gives us something to do to fight the weather. It's just a shame for the sightseeing part of it. Hopefully the weather will break a bit further down the coast as we get closer to Rhode Island later. Put a lot of right stick in. Also right rudder, I mean, sorry. So Philippe says hello. Okay, so we'll just climb out in a straight line for the moment. So next route 240 degrees, 23 miles. So we're going to turn right. While we're doing the right turn, we'll go and move the heading bug so we know which direction we're going. We'll also move the course bug. In fact, what we'll do is counter it by 20 degrees just to intercept, although we could do this on nav mode, couldn't we? So we're just coming up through 1500 feet. We've got, we'll go for 2,500 feet on the autopilot. Climbing at 1,000 feet a minute. Got another 300 feet to go till we get there, so we'll be just above the cloud, peeking down through it from time to time out of the window. So if we put this on nav mode, we should see it intercept. So we've pulled this down to a 5-mile range now. So look at the message. Okay, so let's have a look at the next airfield then. So we are now heading towards Hancock County, or Bar Harbor. So let's have a look, see what the charts look like. So we've got a taxi chart to show us what the airfield layout looks like. It's a bit bigger airfield. So Bar Harbor, Maine. So let's have a look at the weather. So we've got 080 degrees, 4 knots. So the wind is from the east again, 4 knots. So we're probably favouring runway. It's a difficult one, isn't it? 3.5 probably. Or we could go for runway 4. So if we did a right circuit when we get there. Yeah, so you can see we're just coming down the track. So if we pull out right and then go round. So in the background I'm also running Volanta today. So you can see bit by bit, you can see our track being recorded. You can see other aircraft in the air as well. At the moment I'm only showing other Volanta users. If we go into map settings we can turn on VATSIM and IVAO and Pilot Edge. We can see if there's any ATC coverage anywhere. So suddenly a lot more aeroplanes around. We can get the information on our touch and goes as well. So 200 feet a minute on the second one, 300 feet a minute on the first one. That was quite a heavy wallop, wasn't it? Pull the throttle back, should have done that earlier. Close the cowl flaps. How are we doing on the RPM? I mean, I don't think this is that accurately modelled, it's just, you know, it's a good practice to keep an eye on things, see what's going on. So Mark is asking, what server am I on? I'm on the East USA server, in the hope that I might see some other airplanes. Should we turn the labels on and see who's around? Do this from outside, I guess. There's not many people around at all. William Kelly saying about checking the gear even on the 152. That it's quite rare that I forget, but yeah, it's usually really annoys me when I do. Some aircraft have got a sensor on them, haven't they, that drops the undercarriage when you get below a certain height. I think it uses radio to do it. So Jake is saying he thinks the 182RG is the only single engine retractable gear Cessna in the sim. I think you're right. It may well be. Oh, hang on a sec. Oh no, the just trying to think. What about oh crikey, what's it called? Is it the 204? What's the one with the pusher propeller and the pull propeller? Is that a Cessna? Yeah, the N20R also does, but the N20R isn't a Cessna. It's a Mooney. The 337, that's the one. So, yeah, the Skymaster, that's made by Cessna, isn't it? But does that really count? It's a twin though, yeah, it's not a single engine aeroplane. But it has got retractable gear. And it's a bit more elegant the way it works than this one. This one's very rudimentary. So how are we doing? We've got 7 miles to run, 3 minutes until we get there. We're chugging along at our usual speed, about 100, just over 130 knots, with the engine at about 75% on the throttle, which gives us towards the top end of the manifold pressure range. Oil pressure always looks high in this aeroplane, and nothing you do in the cockpit seems to affect it. Two and a half thousand feet. We can have a look at the altitude plot in LittleNavMap just to find out if we should be catering for any high altitude. No, we're not going to have to. Look, we could really get away at 1500 feet all the way, to be honest. So 5 miles to go. I am going to start descending in a hurry. So we'll come down to 1000 feet. Or 1200 again, sorry. So we'll arm that and tell it to come down quite strongly, so 1500 feet a minute. Come off the throttle to stop us from accelerating. Or that's the hope anyway. So if you remember, it would make sense to come in 04 at this airport. So what we're going to do is turn to 224 degrees for the reciprocal. We almost are already though. I guess that's the wind pushing us, isn't it? So we're going to have to go further than that. So we will go to heading mode and pull this round to 210 degrees. Be interesting to watch how much this is going sideways on the track on LittleNavMap. And whether that will be enough. I don't think it will be. Just losing speed as we go. So we've hit 1200 feet, so it's leveled out obviously. So we're within flaps range, which is good. Just opening the throttle a little bit, but not too much, just to hold, check the speed at 100 knots or thereabouts. So we've got overdone it a little bit. Obviously in the real world you could do calculations to figure out the appropriate track change for the wind. That's what I will be doing a video at some point with the CRP1 flight computer, which allows you to do these sort of calculations pretty quickly. You know, what your angle should be to counter a crosswind. Should we have a look outside, see if we can actually see anything? Oh, there we go. It's pretty murky. we'll just extend out a little way till it's kind of in our 5 o'clock position, and then we'll turn back in for an approach. We've got a nice long runway, so there's nothing to worry about. Still 100 knots ground speed, which is fine. So about 12 knot crosswind, but on the ground you can't use this to figure out what the wind is on the ground. You have to go and look at the METAR. So 80 degrees 4 knots, so there's only 4 knot crosswind on the ground. Okay, so we can turn in. So let's sit up, come off the autopilot, flaps out. So we're going to do the equivalent of leaning around the edge of the cockpit. Gear down. We're not going to see it, are we? It's disappeared into the mist. Oh, we can. It's fine. A little bit high, just countering the crosswind now, trying to judge it. So we are going to attempt to straighten this up before we put the wheels on the floor, but that all comes down to experience of knowing how close you are to the floor and how tall your aeroplane is, and I really don't know this aeroplane that well yet, so we'll try and do it. What we could do though is turn into the runway direction with the rudder and then use the ailerons to steer, to go either left or right. So I'm going maximum left rudder elevation. This is going to be quite dangerous. So just pulling it back a little. Yeah, the wind is slowly disappearing as we get to the runway. So we've got about 50% rudder deflection now. So we can come in using the side slip technique. Actually, that was a lot easier. Yeah. Okay, so full throttle. Okay, so take off, gear up, and I completely forgot to open the cowl flaps. Oh well. So we're turning left 281 degrees for the next leg, going over to Belfast Municipal. So 281. So we'll begin our left turn. It's about there somewhere. Whoops. Plane's bucking around a fair amount, which is not fun. So let's just hold that 1,000 feet a minute for a moment. And we'll come up to, say, 3,000 feet. So autopilot on, heading mode on, arm that altitude and get there at 1,000 feet a minute please, and we're good to go. So we'll let the aeroplane climb of its own accord. We need a bit more power, so we're going to push on the manifold pressure a bit. So yeah, that technique you just saw me use on landing is a very good one to practice with crosswind landings, where you point the nose in the runway direction by using the rudder, and then you use the ailerons to bank, and essentially they make the aeroplane translate left and right. So you continue to keep the aeroplane pointing the runway direction. So then banking either way slides the aeroplane left or right. Yeah, I'm still climbing, which is why I haven't raised the flaps yet. I was trying to get above this cloud in a hurry. In the first stage of flaps in this aircraft, they don't actually deflect that far. Well, they don't seem to. There we go, we're at altitude now, which is good. Yeah, it's a pretty thick cloud, isn't it? It's getting worse. We might have to start rerouting to airfields that... Oh, hang on a second. I left this on heading mode, didn't I? Let's put it back on nav mode. See now, here we go, look. It's too far away to do it. So what we'll have to do is put it on an intercept course on purpose. And it should capture. So if we watch this... So nav is armed, but it's in heading mode. In other words, it was too far away from the line to do it. I need to have a read about that, about what the parameters are for capturing the track. So this will suddenly change in a moment, and it will probably turn even tighter in towards the track. So we've got 22 miles to run, about 3,000 feet. Engines looking okay. We're still running quite hard on the engine, so we're going to pull the engine back to get the manifold pressure within limits. So we're just waiting for this to capture, so when we get a bit closer to the track it should capture it and it will just go to nav mode. Yeah, so that absolutely confirms what what VirtuSim just said. So as soon as we got within one dot on the HSI, or CDI, sorry, so you can see it here, look, there's the dot there. As soon as it got within it, this captured and went to nav mode. So you'll see the aeroplane bank right in a moment. It's a shame this doesn't have flight directors, otherwise you'd see the little crosshairs, you know, as it's commanding the autopilot. There you go, it's turning right, look, to join the track. Various different aeroplanes in the sim are better or worse at this. This one looks like it's quite good at it. That's some pretty horrific weather, isn't it? I thought, let's go sightseeing down the coast, and all we've seen so far is thick cloud. So we're on our way to Belfast Municipal. Let's have a look at the chart for it in Navigraph. So if we pull up the charts for Belfast, we can look at the airfield layout diagram. So it's a simple airfield. We can also pull up the weather. So we've got 70 degrees, 10 knots, so that's really, it's over here somewhere, isn't it, then it's coming in from. So runway 15, I guess, but again it's another crosswind, 10 knot crosswind, so we'll be playing side slip games again. So, but look at the overcast at 300 feet, is that 003? It's not very nice, let's put it that way. Yeah, 300 foot AGL. Oh my word. Yeah, overcast at 300 feet. Not very nice at all. So that is proper instrument conditions, but I don't think we've got any sort of... We've got an RNAV approach. If we did go for runway 15. But it's a lot of hassle though to program it all in, and I guess we could just follow it. Or we just change the weather, so we actually get to see something today. Because this is not much fun. And look, that's horrific out there. There's a perverse part of me that's looking forward to hitting that weather. So we've got 11 miles to run until we get to the next airfield, which is Belfast Municipal. So visual purple is up in front of us. I'm not actually running transmitter, am I? Shall I go and run it so you can see where I am on the map? Flight sim add-ons, transmitter. I need to change the server to East USA and change my name here and connect. And you should see famous last words. There we go. It's transmitting. So every 5 seconds it will fetch my new location, just as his is updating every 5 seconds. Crikey, this is going to be difficult, isn't it? 300 feet. I wonder if we use the OBS track. So we can put the course to 150. So if you've not seen this trick, what we're going to do is put the course on 150. And then if we press OBS, you'll see that line. Oh, it's going to... What's it doing? Yeah, it was just being a bit crazy. I think that was a bit of a bug. Okay, we need... Yeah, this, obviously the navigation's following it, so we need to go heading mode. So let's pull heading mode back to the reciprocal. So what we're seeing here is the track into the runway. Obviously we don't need to be on it yet. So we are here. We want to fly out this way and then do a U-turn essentially. So we'll fly to the reciprocal of the runway by using this as a reference. But you can see the line of the runway is now projected on the chart by using OBS mode. Omni-bearing selector mode. So you get a visual reference without being able to really see the runway clearly of what direction it is and where you are in relation to it. So when you zoom in, you can line up without being able to see the runway. You can see the distance. So you've got to work with, you've got your altitude, yeah, and you've got your position, your lateral position over the ground, So you can use your distance to the runway and your altitude and your lateral position to kind of figure out in your head where you are and keep descending for the runway without using ILS. So what we're going to do at this point then, just so we don't have a hurry later on with doing this, we're going to turn to the reciprocal. And we're going to begin descending. So while we're also, obviously you could look at a sectional chart to figure this out, but you can see we don't need to worry so much about height. We can drop down to 1,000 feet without any problems, which we're going to do. So we're going to go 1,000 feet, arm that, come down at 1,500 feet a minute. So we just pulled the throttle back to stop us from accelerating. So we're going to go into the cloud and not be able to see much in a moment. So we're on the reciprocal to the runway, so if we just go and look at the chart to explain what we're doing there, let's get rid of this one off the display. So we're flying the opposite way, then we'll turn in and come back in. So we're just coming down to 1,800 feet and descending quite rapidly. So we're in the cloud now, we're being pelted with rain. You can see the ground below us. So I'm actually going to go for 1,200 feet and arm that instead. So let's start turning us around. So we'll go 90 degrees. Whoops. So now we can use this as our visual reference. Gear down. Obviously the gear will give us some drag as well. So we'll put ourselves on a intercept course now and we'll zoom in a little bit. So we've got a 5-mile range. I think this is the minimum zoom level actually, or maximum zoom level I should say. So I'm going to come off the autopilot now. So we're just going to use this as our guide and start descending. So 1,000 feet a minute. We should see the runway come out of nowhere right in front of us when we break through the cloud at 300 feet apparently. So we're coming down 1,000 feet a minute. Coming off the power, a bit off to the right. Now I'm going to pull up, so we are skimming the trees. So we came down a bit too steeply there, but you get the idea. We should find the runway directly in front of us. is. That crosswind's quite violent, isn't it? So we're a bit high. We want one red light, one white light. There we go. I was more concerned about just getting it on the ground there, so I didn't flare it out with that crosswind pitching us around. Just held the altitude and let it fall. We'll taxi around to take back off again this time. Because it's a crosswind, we can take off this direction as well. If we can hold the runway direction. Yes, we can. Okay, so we can go and turn off OBS mode again. And zoom out. And we get the rest of our track showing up. So we'll leave that climbing. So we want to be turning left. Now, we've got a 40-mile trip. 244 degrees. So we're turning left because the plane tilts that way because of the wind anyway. There's 244, or thereabouts. Ah. Let's get the course pointing that way as well, so we've got a visual reference for it. It's about there. So we'll go for 2,500 feet again. Autopilot on, heading mode on, arm the altitude, climb at 1,000 feet a minute. In fact, let's get up above this cloud completely. Let's go for 5,000 feet. Arm that. Climbing at 1,000 feet a minute. Raise the flaps to see if we can get any extra airspeed out of it. Now we're away from the ground. It's pretty horrific weather, isn't it? Yeah, that. It says here the track is 244. Oh, you know what's going on here? Yeah. There's drift. This okay, I didn't realise that. This aircraft simulates gyro drift on the compass. So in the real thing, you would be double checking the whiskey compass or binnacle compass with this one. But interestingly, there's no knob for that. There's a course knob. Interesting. I had to press D on the keyboard to realign it. Unless it's somewhere else. I wouldn't have thought it would be though. Usually it's on the instrument. There's a third knob for correcting it. So it's just coming up to 3,500 feet, so we're going to lean the engine out slightly. put this onto nav mode now. Notice it's not, yeah, it's gone to heading nav armed, so if we put it onto a closer intercept again, notice what the what we said earlier, usually when it gets to 1 dot from the course, which you can see the dots here as well, it will capture. So let's go and pull the throttle back now. Coming up 4,500 feet. It's gone a bit too much with the throttle there. Let's push it on a little bit more. Okay, so it should capture any moment. If you keep an eye on it, on the autopilot down there. Yeah, so it's really this you're referring to then, not this one. So we'll see what it should happen. Yeah, there it goes, look, it's just done it when it was just touching the first dot on the HSI. Did I just move the flap by accident when I moved the screen? I'm sure I raised the flaps when I took off. I wonder if that's a glitch with the controller. I'm just trying it. So can that be moved? Yes, it can. It can be moved with the mouse wheel by accident. Okay, so we've just grabbed the track and navigated. So we've got 31 miles to run until we get to the next airport. So let's go and have a look at the next airfield. It's going to be Kilo India Whiskey India, which is Wiscasset. So if we open the charts, let's have a look at it. Interesting. So we're going to come straight in unless the wind doesn't allow that to happen. So let's go and have a look at the information. 070 degrees. Yeah, so we got a headwind coming straight into the runway. So what about the cloud though? Is it as overcast at 600 feet this time? Oh my word. Do you know what? I'm inclined to turn the weather off, just because otherwise this is going to be the most boring flight for everybody, of just seeing cloud tops all the way. Should we see what we're missing? So if we turn the live weather off, although this part of the US is extremely flat, isn't it? So we're really not missing a great deal. It's like this coastline. I mean, okay, yes, there's lots of little islands and things along the way. I'm inclined to put the weather back on, you know. It gives us something to do and a challenge, doesn't it? I just looked at this, the chat. You were absolutely right. Yeah, wind is from 70, so we need to go runway 7. This is what happens when you have to fly talk, navigate programs and mess around, and you make stupid backwards logic errors like that. I actually work as a software developer, and it's amazing how often you see those, you know, the opposite logic has been implemented in programming. It's amazing how often that happens. where you know exactly what they meant to do and the comments reflect that, and then what they've actually written in the code is the opposite of it. Okay, so we're off to Wiscasset. When we get a bit further down the coast, it gets a bit more interesting. So while we are en route, I'm going to go make a quick cup of coffee. So, oh, hello, someone's just come whizzing past. Should we find out who that is? IS414S. Got about 20 miles to run, 22 miles to run, so I've got enough time to go make a coffee, which I'm going to go and do. Hopefully we don't get hit by this rainstorm. That's a big one, isn't it? So it's coming out of this upper layer and just dumping through the clouds. Again, there's a part of me that wants to fly straight into it. See what happens. Shall we increase the range on this and then I go make the coffee? So there we go, you can actually see where we're heading now. Kiwi. Wiscasset. Right. Oh, excuse me, I'm just going to go and grab a coffee and I'll be back. I'll leave it on the outside view. Okay. We just dodged the edge of the rainstorm by the look of it. I guess inside the cockpit we might be getting a bit wet, but no, it looks like we got away with it. So we're 12 miles out from Kiwi, so let's drop down to 2,000 feet. (1,500 feet a minute). Just retarded the throttle so we don't accelerate as we descend into the yellow area of the indicated airspeed. So next airfield is Kilo India Whiskey India, a whisker set. So we're going to come in runway 7. So I am going to divert from my course in a few moments. So you can see at the moment we are flying exactly about 230 degrees. So if I go 240, and go for heading mode, that'll give us a little bit of separation by the time we get there. Or 250 even. 245 maybe. Yeah, so the game we're playing here, you can draw it on the map properly on LittleNavMap. It's quite good at this sort of thing. We're just giving ourselves enough room to turn. So we're coming off to one side, then we'll do a U-turn into whisker set. So we can lower this chart down. We'll get rid of it entirely actually. The ground's so flat around here we don't have to worry about altitude. So we are in the murk. Not really a problem. We've got instruments. They're all working. We'll pull the range on this down now. So we've got 10-mile range on it now. So we're down to 2,000 feet. So we're going to open the throttle back up. Neil say, yeah, it does look like there's something missing, doesn't it? It's like, oh no, the wheels have all fallen off. So let's just go and double check the altitude of the airfield. So we'll do this in LittleNavMap this time just to show we can. 70 feet, so we're going to drop down to 1,000 feet. We know that there's no hills anywhere nearby, so we'll arm that and come down at 500 feet a minute. We should, yeah, you can see the scenery is whistling past in the murk below already. So maybe 1,500 is a better altitude to go for then actually. So we'll do the same routine as last time. So the course, we're on heading mode, so we can play with the course without affecting anything. We want the course to be the 67 degrees, which is the runway direction. And that gives us a visual reference as well. So 67 is about there. So that's the runway direction relative to us. We're obviously coming up on the right side of the runway. So if we zoom in again on here, you can see it a bit better. So if we just turn a tiny bit, Now, in terms of crosswind, there's not really going to be any. It's going to be a straightforward headwind into our face, which is fine. As you can see, there's the ground. Should we calibrate the altimeter again? Yeah, so it was about 50, 60 feet out. So it was worth doing. Obviously, you'd normally do that by getting a radio report from the ATIS, which would give you the local barometric pressure. Okay, so you can see this has jumped onto the next waypoint, which really isn't useful. So it's telling us the distance to the next one. It's fine. We can work it out. I mean, we could do a direct to. Or we can just refer to this. So we're going to go out a little way, maybe 3 miles, 4 miles, and then turn in and descend. Right, let's come off the speed. So we're descending at the moment, sort of between 500 and 1,000 feet a minute. It's difficult to know with the wind doing what it's doing whether we'll have to do more than that or less. Just pulling the nose up. Can see the ground. Look, it's not too bad out there. So coming down to 800 feet, 700 feet. I'll stay at that sort of altitude. So we're going in towards the airfield now. As we get closer, we can descend. Well, we'll just manage to descend, actually come down at sort of 500 feet a minute, or a little bit less. It's really bumpy out there. And there's the airfield. You can see the beacon blinking away in the murk. So runway's off to the right, so we'll just correct for that. A little bit low. There we go, we're on track now. Cow flaps. Whoa, we've gone high. Back on track. Too low. You can't always judge the out of the box VASI lights in the simulator aren't always accurate, and the PAPI lights, they're not always correct. Look at that drift, look, floating on that headwind. It's incredible. Obviously with this huge headwind we can lift the flaps and just use the air to lift us. Okay, so I'm finally looking along at the chat. Someone's saying, can you see us? We are talking to you. Yeah, I was, as the next comment says, I was concentrating. So, hang on a second. It's very thick fog, so until I get to about 2,000 or 3,000 feet, I can't see anything. So 249 degrees. Well, not fog, but just overcast. So 249, wasn't it? And we'll spin the course round as well. Autopilot on, heading mode on. Take it up to 3,000 feet. Arm the altitude and do it at 1,000 feet a minute, please. And cut the throttle back so we're not going to blow the engine to bits, and we can then close the cowl flaps. And raise the gear. Okay, so if I turn the labels on, who can I see around me? Nobody at the moment. This really is some of the worst weather I've seen in the simulator for quite some time. So I don't know with turning the labels on and off if it's actually working. Let's try something. So I've just pressed the home button on my Stream Deck, press the label shortcut key. I'm not seeing anybody by the look of it. Maybe multiplayer's having some issues. Let's get this back on track. So we're going to intercept the course. So we can go back to nav mode. Obviously it's going to say arming as well because we are not within a dot of the track. We'll press D as well just to recalibrate the gyro compass again. That's interesting that had drifted, but there doesn't seem to be a knob in the cockpit to adjust it unless I'm missing something. Unless it's under here somewhere, unexpected. I don't think it is. No. Yeah, it seems there's a multiplayer issue going on at the moment. So if I turn names on, I'm just not seeing any. And we're about to go into a huge bank of cloud. So we're IMC yet again. So we've got 26 miles to run. The next airfield we're visiting. So a look. Is down at Portland by the look of it. This is Portland International is on here, but I'm sure that's not the one I chose. Maybe I did. I think this is the only big airport we're visiting. And to be honest, given the weather today, I think we might call the flight at Portland because there's really nothing to see. It's quite dispiriting, isn't it, just to fly along IMC all the time. But I guess the huge advantage is with Portland, if we just go and have a quick look at LittleNavMap to show you this, it's got ILS. So we can have some fun and games with that. So we'll come in, we've got a choice look between 1.8 or 1.1. I guess Well, let's find out what the wind is on the ground at Portland. So 070 degrees, 8 knots. I'm going to go for runway 11, I think. Or 11, I should say. So let's go and get the nav radio tuned into the ILS. 109.9, 110 degrees for the runway direction. So we want 109.9. And we want 110 degrees on the course. So what we'll do is we'll straighten this up on the heading mode. And turn the course ready for when we get there to 110 degrees. Whoops. I wonder how thick this cloud is. I wonder if there's any sign of it. I think the trouble is, from what we saw elsewhere, this will go up to sort of 10,000 feet, and there's no way we'll be able to climb out of it. If we look down, can we see anything down there? We can just about now and again see bits of ground going by, but not much. So yeah, I think I'm going to call this at Portland. So let's turn on the names again. Any sign of people? Nope. How strange. So we are completely IMC at the moment. $20 miles to run to Portland. See, we could put a procedure in. If we know we're coming in runway 11, trouble is that procedures tend to be for jets and they'll start at an enormous altitude. But we'll have a look. So if we go and look on the charts for the standard approach routes, there aren't any. Oh no, that's Wiscasset, sorry. Open airport, charts, standard approach routes. So we can just pull them up, can't we, and have a look at them and see what they look like. Or superimpose them on. So there's the Seadog 4 or the Skogs 3. So that wants us coming in at 11,000 feet, which is beyond our capabilities. This one wants us coming in a long way off. Yeah, neither of them work for us, but what about the approaches then? So ILS, or localize it into runway 11. Let's have a look at it. So it wants us to join in. I mean, normally you just go for the start of the feathers. So we'll be looking for this radar fix over here at Buckstow. And then follow the ILS in. So we could do a direct to Buckstow on the GPS, couldn't we? That would be quite a neat way to do it. So if we go direct to and type in BUXTO and enter and then go, we go to nav mode. So the plane should bank right and we're going to fly out to Buckstow. So if we zoom out we can see where that is. And then we can take the route straight into the runway using ILS. It's quite a neat way to do it. It'll work. So they want the carburetor heat on. Just looking, I don't think this is that wonderfully modelled. Because yeah, if you look, all the needles just stay in the middle all the time. the oil pressure always stays high. You don't seem to lose temperature. Manifold pressure never really varies very much. So although you have got the controls to do things in the cockpit, I don't think a lot of them actually do much. It's a bit like a kind of one of those toy steering wheels you can put on the back of the driver's seat in a car for the child to use. There's a gap in the cloud up there. So we ideally want to be at 2,500 feet above ground level when we come into the feathers. So let's find out the elevation of the airfield. So is it written on here? I love that these things never have a standard layout. Be down here, won't it? If in doubt, double check with LittleNavMap, which has this information. Although you can do it in here. If we go for information on the airport, it will tell us. He says, famous last words, that's the weather. We don't want the weather, we want the general information. There we go, elevation 76 feet. So we want 2,600 feet on the altitude. So let's put it down now to 2,600 feet. Whoa, that is some proper dark cloud that we're in the middle of. That's insane. And this is at what time in the morning? Oh, it's 10 past 12 now. Just gone. Oh no, 7 minutes past 12. Look at that. It's lunchtime. That's some proper dark clouds. Oh, we're coming back out of it though. I wonder if we're going into another cloud. Although we're descending there, remember, so we're just dropping down to 2,600 feet. So the idea here is we do a direct to I forgot why we were doing the direct to now. Buckstow. So we're doing a direct to Buckstow, okay? So if we look in terms of the airplane now, we're just flying straight across to Buckstow, then we're going to turn left and join the ILS. So we'll switch the CDI mode over to the ILS beam when we're approaching Buckstow. We'll begin the turn. We may even turn right, so we get to turn into Buckstow, if that makes sense. So let's bring the zoom level down. So we've got 10 miles to go till we get to Buckstow. We're at the correct altitude. We're going quite fast. Whoa, look how dark that is. That's insane. See the ground below us. So we're going to test out approach mode on the autopilot. It has an approach mode, APR, on that middle button. Eight miles to run to Buckstow. And then we double back. So let's get this heading bug ready. So we are going to give ourselves some turning circle before we get to Buckstow. So when we get about a mile away from it, we're going to turn right and before we turn left. So we're going to go to the reciprocal of the runway direction. So we'll wait till this gets down to about a mile and we'll go to heading mode and prepare our approach. Then we switch over to CDI mode, the HSI should come alive and we should be good to go. Straight into approach mode. Kevin Lug is saying avionics and GPS switch is by the pilot's left knee. Yeah, how do you think I turned it on when I got in the plane? It's down there. Do I need any panel lights? Bizarrely no, look, it's still quite, well, when it gets really dark outside, I guess we could try them out though, just to see how bright they are. Lights, brightness, and flood. It's not going to make much difference in the daytime. I mean, you can see, look, they are illuminating inside the instruments, but it's not doing much. Turn this right up, it goes very pink looking, doesn't it? So I presume there are some overhead floods as well, which we can turn on again, which don't do much in the daytime. So we're 3.5 miles out from our projected waypoint at Buckstow. So I'm putting this down to 10 miles now on the range. So when we get to 1 mile to go, I'm going to go to heading mode and do like a teardrop shape. I'm going to turn away and then back. So if you want to see this, the track of what we're going to do, here it comes, look. So we'll do it now. So we're turning away. We'll actually do it more, 30 degrees. Yeah, so we're giving ourselves room to then double back. Bizarrely though, look, the weather is clearing, so we could have gone in probably visually. It would have been difficult, but we could have done it. So we then spin this around. You have to be careful not to go too far or it will do that and it will start tipping the wrong way. Okay. So we are now going to go and switch over the CDI mode. So there's the course deviation indicator coming in. We're almost on track perfectly, so we'll go to approach mode. So there's the glide slope is just coming in. Yeah, you see the little bar coming down. So it's the autopilot is just banking right a little bit to get the CDI back into the middle to get onto the centre line of the runway. We're looking good. So it won't start descending until the glide slope gets into the middle. So at the moment we are below the line, the 3 degree line down to the runway. I presume it's 3 degrees here. Let's have a look at Navigraph. It will have that marked. So just reading all the stuff. Where's the glide slope angle? They haven't written it in, have they? Or I'm just being blind. There we go, 3 degrees. So here comes the glide slope, so watch the vertical speed. So I'm going to put the gear down now. We've still got... That's interesting. 1.7 miles. So that's... Oh, of course that's measuring that, that waypoint. We can just use the radio. So here we go, look, the vertical speed has now gone to 500 feet a minute towards the ground, and it's chasing the glide slope down, so we're just going straight down towards the runway. So at this point we just look out the front. Obviously we keep an eye on things. We get the speed off. If we do a direct to the airport, we'll get the distance measuring on it. It's a shame that it's not doing radio distance measuring on the... So KPWM, if we do a direct 2 on that, if it will let me. So that's giving me a distance countdown now, which is quite handy. So we can just look after the throttle now. Open the cowl flaps. So look outside. Put the taxi lights on as well. Light the thing up, basically. So the autopilot is flying us down the glide slope. And somewhere out, yeah, you can see the beacon flashing on the airport already. So we will get to a decision height, usually it's a few hundred feet, depends on conditions and rules for a given aeroplane or operator. Get to a decision height where you disable autopilot and take over manually. So GA aeroplanes almost never have auto land, so you don't let the autopilot fly into the floor. Yeah, so Martin's saying you need to load the approach in, but I'm not doing the approach. I'm just doing, you know, using the ILS radio just to show you how you can do that on its own, really, and how you can hack the GPS to do a directive to get the distance measuring. It's a shame it hasn't got, unless I'm completely missing it, it hasn't got distance measuring as a separate instrument, has it? You know what? We never turned on the transponder. Oh my word. Mind you, we're not using ATC anyway, so it doesn't really make any difference to us. So there's the runway directly in front of us. So if we say a couple of hundred feet, we'll take over. Say 300 feet. See stuff going by on the ground now. And the stuttering are assets loading at the airport. So aeroplanes probably on the ground. And some turbulence, just for good measure. Start winding the speed off and pulling the flaps out. So we've got 2 miles to run. You can see the lights. Obviously this is a bit ridiculous, landing at an international airport with a little Cessna. Okay, so off the autopilot. That turbulence at the edge of the airfield was pretty vicious. Mind you, this headwind's pretty vicious as well. You can almost go like elevator mode. Oh my word, look at that. We've almost come to a standstill. I wonder how much we can flare it and hover over the runway. God, we were nearly down to like 50 knots there. That's crazy. So now we're going to look really silly taxiing up to an international airport gate in a Cessna. Just to get out of the rain. Just overshot that slightly, doesn't matter. And look, we have a levitating. What was it? I can't see. The generic moony shape that the simulator uses sometimes. I guess we ought to park this end, didn't we? Rather than go to a gate, because that is a bit silly. Turn the landing lights off. Parking brake on. Mixture pulled. Taxi lights off. Beacon lights off. Nav lights off. Pitot heat off. Transponder off. Do the actual power knobs work on these things? Should we try it? No. It's worth a go, isn't it? So avionics can go off. The magnetos can go to off, and then the alternator can go to off, and the battery can go to off, and we're good. Oh, I didn't turn the lights down, did I? I'll just go and do that here. Okay, should we open these windows? Can we hear the rain? Well, it's a great little aeroplane, isn't it? It's very, very good. I noticed they've got the problem that lots of the other aeroplanes have with the glitching with the glass structures. It's not too bad, but it still does it. So anyway, I'm calling it there because, yeah, the weather was atrocious in the end, wasn't it? It really just wasn't fun anymore. We saw nothing for most of the flight. But I guess that's the luck of the draw with live weather. Okay, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all again soon. Okay, take care.